Hello, welcome to Chapter 9, Lesson 8. During this video, we are going to have moments where I'm going to ask you to pause the video. So I'm going to put up a big giant word that says pause right about here. And when I ask you to do that, I'm going to have told you a couple of things that I wanted you to get done. And I'm going to tell you to pause it. I'm going to give you that time for you to get that work done. And when you press play again, we're going to talk about it on this board right here about what we need to do and how to do it correctly. So today we are learning about equal parts in a shape, and so we're on page 681. So if you have not already, go get your math book, go get your pencil. So I'll go ahead and put up that pause right here for you to go get that stuff. All right, welcome back. I'm glad that you have your things already, and we are looking at that Math in Our World page right now on page 681. We have on the first part of the page, we have a hexagon looking like this, and it's got a little trapezoid right above it, and it wants to know how many of these equal trapezoids we need to make this hexagon. So you can see that it has little dotted lines right across the middle, like this, and that makes 1, 2 trapezoids, and those trapezoids are going to be the exact same size and looking exactly the same. That's what makes them equal parts. So we're going to say that it takes 2 equal parts of a trapezoid to make this hexagon. So we're going to trace that dotted line, and we're going to write 2 on the line right there. All right, next you have a big triangle, and it has a picture of little triangles right above it. And we want to know how many little triangles it takes to fill up this big triangle. So you can see our dotted lines going across. We have one right up top, and then we have one going diagonally down to the middle, and then diagonally back up like this. So we're going to trace our lines just like that, and we'll find that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles that make up this big triangle, and all 4 of those triangles are going to be the same size and the same shape. So we're going to say it takes 4 equal parts to make this big triangle. Now the last one we have is a big square. So we want to know how many little squares like this it's going to take to make up this big giant square. So you can see that they've made their dotted lines. We have one going straight down the middle. Now if we just drew our line straight down the middle like this, we would have 2 equal parts, but they would be rectangles, right? Because they have 2 long sides and 2 short sides if we cut that in half. And that's not exactly what they're looking for, is it? We're looking for squares. So we're going to cut it in half again, and that will give us some squares. So let's trace those lines and see how many squares it takes to make one big square. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have 4 giant big equal squares. And so remember, our equal parts, they're all going to be exactly the same size, because if we're going to share it with others, we want to make sure that it's all fair. And so we want to cut it up evenly so that everyone gets the same amount. So if I ended up cutting my square instead, if I cut it way over here and across like this, these 2 are much, much smaller than this one, and that's not really fair. That's not very equal, is it? So that's why we need to make sure that it goes right down the middle. That way they are the same size. All right, so we're going to turn to the next page. I'm going to get my whiteboard all changed up, and then we're going to talk about what's going on that page. I hope that you were able to get everything traced and filled out on the first page. We're on page 260. We're on page 200. We are on page... Alright, I'm glad that you were able to get everything traced and filled out on page 681. We are on page 682 now, and our paper is going to look a little bit like this. At the top, we see our highlighted and bold letters. What does it mean if it's highlighted in bold? Yes, it is very important and we want to pay attention to it. So it says, a whole can be separated into equal parts, just like these up here, or into equal shares. So we can say parts or shares. And
telephone for you.
Thank you.
I have a telephone too.
And equal parts of the whole are the same size. So if it's going to be equal, they need to be the same size. We can't have sizes that are a little bit off, or else it won't be equal. So we have a picture of a square up top, and then they separated it into little squares like we did on the last page. So let's see how many it took to make that square. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal shares. So I want you to write 4 in right underneath that to say that there are 4 equal parts for this one. After you're finished tracing that one and writing that in, we're going to look at our next square. So they took our regular big square and they turned it into 2 rectangles.
Your phone was ringing.
And they turn it into a couple of rectangles. So let's see how many equal rectangles it takes to make this giant square. So we have 1, 2. So we're going to write 2 on that line there, or trace that 2. It takes 2 equal rectangles to make this big square. Alright, after you get that all filled in, we're going to start working through problems 1 and 2 together. And I'm going to make sure that you have that all written out. I'll get the next problems put up, and then we'll continue working from there. Alright, so number 1, what we want to do for both 1 and 2 is find out how many equal parts it took to make this shape. So number 1, we have a square. And they drew one line right across the center. So we were able to make 2 shapes. What shapes were they? Yeah, those are 2 rectangles. So we're going to count those out. 1, 2. And that takes 2 equal parts to make this big square. So we're going to write 2 on that line. Next we have a big circle, kind of like a pie or a pizza, right? And we want to know how many equal parts there is so that we can share it by these. So we have, let's count them out, 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and they all look the same size, right? So that took 4 equal parts to cut up this circle. So we're going to write 4 on this line right here. Alright, I'm going to take a moment, let you pause and make sure that you have everything written incorrectly on that page and on the last page. And when you come back, I'm going to have problems number 3 and 4. And then we're going to start talking about what you're going to do on the next page. So ready? Pause. Alright, so now it's time to move on to problems number 3 and 4 on page 682. What you're going to see there are 2 shapes. We've got a triangle and a rectangle, and it's telling you how many equal parts at once. So instead of counting how many equal parts there are, we're going to make that many. So for number 3, we have our big triangle, and they want us to split this up into 2 equal parts. So let's say you and I wanted to share this triangle, and we wanted to make sure that we had the same amount and we wanted them to be the same size. How are we going to draw our line so that it will be equal? So I'm going to draw a couple lines. Let's see which one looks like the best. So if I went ahead and I just drew it straight across over here, what do you think? Is that going to make 2 equal shares? No, I got a big triangle over here and I have a trapezoid down here. Those aren't the same shapes, are they? So we're going to have to draw our line somewhere else. So what if instead of in the middle across here, what if I do it straight down the middle? So if I start at this vertex up here and I just go straight down the middle, do I have 2 equal shares? I do, yeah, I have 2 triangles that look exactly the same. So if I took my triangle and I folded it in half, it'd look exactly the same no matter which side I had it on. So this would be how we draw our line to make 2 equal shares on a big triangle like this. Now, next we have a big rectangle and they want us to cut it up into 4 equal parts. So now we need to figure out how we can cut this up into 4 equal parts. Now there are a few ways that you might be able to do it, and I'm going to show you a couple of them. Whichever way that you put that up is completely fine. It's up to you and whatever you're thinking. So go ahead and take a moment and think about how you will cut this up, and then we'll talk about that in just a second. Alright, so let's talk about one way we can cut this up. So first I will cut it in half right down the middle here. And then I can cut it right down the middle the other way across. So I'll go right over here. And that'll give me 4 equal rectangles. Or I can cut it up another way. So I'm going to erase this in here.
Mom, how do I get to the...
I will cut it right in the middle down here. And then I'll cut each of these right in the middle as well. So I'll cut it right down like this and right down like this. And then I'll have 4 equal parts to share with 3 other friends. Alright, so next I want you to go on to the next page. Start working through problems number 5 through 8. You are going to look at the shape that it has, and it's already been cut up into equal parts for you. And I want you to tell me how many equal parts it's been cut up into. So go ahead, take a moment and pause. Alright, welcome back. So we are looking at page 683. We're looking at the first 4 problems, number 5, 6, 7, and 8. What we were supposed to do was go through and count how many equal shares each of these shapes had, or how many equal parts they had. So number 5, we're looking at this big rectangle here, and they drew one line right across, and we have 1, 2 equal parts. So that is what we're going to write into our blank spots. So we have 2 equal parts for number 5. Next we're going to look at number 6. Number 6, we have another big rectangle, and they drew 3 lines in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts here. So we're going to write 4 in here. Number 7, we had a square, and they drew 2 lines right in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So we're gonna write 4 in our blank right here. Alright, on the last one, number 8, we have a big triangle, and they drew one big line just like we did on the last page. And we see that we have 1, 2 equal parts here. So look over your work, make sure that you have the same answers down on yours. If you don't, go back through and count those shapes that you have in there. And then I want you to start working on numbers 9 and 10. On those 2 shapes, you have a square and a trapezoid. And on the square, they want you to cut that up into 4 equal parts. And the trapezoid, they want you to cut it up into 2 equal parts. So draw your lines that show that. And then for number 11, they want you to circle the shape that shows equal shares. So which one shows that they've separated it into equal parts? All right, go through, work through those problems, and when you're finished, we'll come back and look at it on the board. Alright, so for number 9, we had a square up like this, and we were cutting it up into 4 equal parts. So they all need to be the exact same size. So let's see how you can cut that up. So first, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to do it a little bit differently than we had been. I'm going to do my line right down the middle over here, and then cut this one in the middle, and cut this one in the middle. And that will give me 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. Another way that I can do it is your iPad probably died. Another way that I can do it is keep this one line in the middle and draw a straight line down, and that'll give me 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. And the last way I can do it is keep this line right here and do 1 straight down the middle and 1 straight down the middle over here. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts.
Excuse me, does it
Hold on just 1 second, sweetie. It's right down here in the bottom corner. Number 10, I have a trapezoid, and I want to cut that into 2 equal parts. So maybe we're just playing around, see what we can do. And if I draw my line right down the middle here, that wouldn't exactly draw 2 equal parts, would it? It would give me 1 really big trapezoid down here and 1 small trapezoid up here. So let's try cutting in half a different way. Maybe if I go the other way, if I go from the top straight down, then I have 2 equal parts right here. Alright, number 11, we have a few triangles that look like this, and you want to circle the one that is equal shares. So if you and I were eating a pie and I gave you this slice and myself this slice, would that be equal? No, not really. So I'll cross that one out. That one would not be equal. What about this one? If you, me, and 2 of our friends were over and we were cutting up our pie and I gave you 1, a friend 1, me 1, and the other friend 1, would these all be equal? Yeah, they look pretty right to me. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that one. And let's look at the last one. What if we had our friends over again and we were cutting it up like this? Would that be very fair? No, not really. So we'll go ahead and cross out that one. All right, when you are all finished with that, I want you to start working through problems 12, 13, and 14 on the next page. Page 12, it says, Jasmine cuts her sandwich into 2 equal parts. Circle Jasmine's sandwich. So you have 3 sandwiches pictured up there. Remember, Jasmine cuts her sandwich into 2 equal parts. Circle Jasmine's sandwich. Which one is that one going to be? Number 13 says Damon is sharing a pie equally with himself and 3 friends. How many equal parts does he need? Draw lines to show the equal parts. So go ahead and look at that pie and draw your lines to show 4 equal parts in that circle. So draw your lines and write down how many equal parts you'll have. And then we'll discuss number 14 when you're finished with those first 2. So go ahead and take a moment and pause. Alright, so we're going over problem number 12. It says Jasmine cuts her sandwich into 2 equal parts. Which sandwich is going to be hers? So you have a sandwich that looks like this one, and like this one. So let's look at the first one. It looks like there are 2 parts, but are they equal? No, not really. This one's a little bit bigger than this one, so they're not equal parts. Next we're going to look at the middle one, and it looks like we have some equal parts, but how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. But our problem says that Jasmine cut it up into 2 equal parts, so that's too many equal parts for us, so this one must not be Jasmine's sandwich. Alright, let's look at our last one. We have 1, 2 parts. They look like they're about the same size. I think that we found Jasmine's sandwich. This one looks like it's cut into 2 equal parts for Jasmine. Alright, next we're going to look back over at 13, see how we did there. It says, Damon is sharing a pie equally with himself and 3 friends. So how many friends is he sharing this pie with? Or how many people are going to be eating this pie? Well, if we have Damon, which is 1, and 3 more friends, so we're going to add 3. So 1 plus 3 is going to be 4. So we're going to need how many equal parts? Yes, we're gonna need 4 equal parts. So we're gonna go ahead and write that in that blank there. Now we just need to draw the lines to show 4 equal parts in our circle. So we're going to draw a line right down the middle. Right down the middle is always a very good place to start when you're drawing these lines. That should normally get us cut into half. And when you cut it in half, you're gonna have at least 2 equal parts. Now, if I were to draw another line right down the middle this way, my 2 parts here would not be the same size. They would be unequal. So we're not gonna do it that way. Let's go ahead and do it in half again, right down this center. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts for Damon and his friends to eat the pie. Alright, so now you are going to start working on problem number 14. I'm going to read it out, you're going to pause it, and then we're going to go over it together. So number 14 says, Isabel and Katie cut this pizza to share with their 2 friends. Tell why they are wrong and make it right. So once again, Isabel and Katie cut this pizza to share with their 2 friends. Tell why they are wrong and make it right. So go ahead and make that pizza correct to show that Isabel and Katie, and 2 more friends are eating this pizza, and fix the lines to show equal shares, and tell me how you can make that right on the lines. Alright, so number 14, Isabel and Katie are trying to cut this pizza up for themselves and 2 more of their friends. How many slices do they need, and why is this incorrect? So if we're looking at that, we have Isabel and Katie, that's 2 people. And 2 more friends are coming over, so we're going to add 2 more to that. So 2 plus 2 will give us 4. Good job. So we're going to have 4 people eating this pizza. And we only have 1, 2, 3 pieces of pizza. So that wouldn't be right, would it? So I'm going to go ahead and erase mine. You're just going to draw lines over yours. So how can we cut up this pizza so that it's equal for all 4 of those people? So instead, just like we did on the last problem, we're going to draw a line straight down the middle and straight across. And now we need to write down how we are making that right on those lines. Now if you wrote something similar to what I wrote, you don't need to erase it and rewrite it again. But if yours doesn't match kind of what I was saying, then we need to do it again. Alright, so what we're going to write on those lines is that the pizza is for 4 people, like we found out, and it should be cut into 4 equal parts. So I'm going to get that written up here, and you are going to write that on your lines as well if you need to. If you wrote something similar or like to that, then you're fine, you don't need to rewrite it. So I'm going to write the pizza is for 4 people. So the, T-H-E, pizza, P-I-Z-Z-A, is for 4 people, period. And then I'm going to start a new sentence. It's going to start with an uppercase letter. It, I-T, should, S-H-O-U-L-D, be cut into 4 equal parts. Alright, go ahead and get those filled in and write down that sentence. And then I want you to work on the My Homework pages by yourself. So you're going to do pages 685 and 686 on your own. Take a picture of it and upload it onto Google Classroom so I can see what you have done. So good job for today, and I will see you for the next lesson soon. Bye.